Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Augusta F. Smallshaw, 1986, Part 4. This is a continuation of an interview I conducted with my grandmother, my mother's mother, Augusta Smallshaw. Do you remember when I visited you in 1980? Yeah. What did we do when I was there? Did you enjoy that week with me? Yeah, that was great. I took you to the mounted police. You said, "What can I do for you?" I said, "You can paint this kitchen." And I'm sorry I said that, because it took time, and I wanted to take you to the museum. We have a lovely museum in Regina, one of the best across the country. Do you remember about the last day you were there, and your cousin Joan wanted you to come over and play frisbee? Yeah? It was either go and play frisbee with Joan or go over all my relations' photographs, my father and all the kin on my side. You said, "I can play frisbee anytime, but I can't see the family photographs." I wanted the kitchen painted so badly. Anyway, I enjoyed the kitchen for many years, and whenever I look at it, I say, "Well, Peter did that." I should have let the kitchen go and gone sightseeing. I've had it remodeled since then, all new doors. What did you think of Joseph Stalin? Well, he's not very well liked by the Russians right now, but I think the man did his best at the time. He had his photograph up, apparently all over Russia, but I think they've taken them down now. What did you think about Woodrow Wilson? I think I told you about him. He had meetings with Lovely day, eh? Beautiful. I was talking with Mark, and he said, "Grandma, we'll make a pact with one another. You look after your health so you can come next year, and I'll do the same." That's pretty good, wasn't it? He's a lovely boy, isn't he? He's different from you. He's quieter. He seems to be sad about something. Is that his way? I don't know. Did you talk to Patty? Patty and I talked quite a little bit. Her school and her life and her suite there in Cincinnati. She liked her suite. She seemed very happy, I thought. Did you talk to John Ray? Here and there, you know. You've got a wonderful dad and mother. You're a lucky boy, you know. Tell me about Ruth and John's wedding, eh? Well, when Ruth was going to get married, she wrote and said, "Mother, would you like us to get married in Cleveland and you and Dad come, or would you like us to meet you in Niagara Falls and get married there, or would you like me to come home?" I thought, well, she's my only daughter, and she's got a few friends here left, been away from home a while, and she went to St. Peter's Sunday School and was confirmed there. So I decided and told her that I would like her to come home. Ruth was very wonderful, chose her own wedding dress, bridesmaids. Carol was one bridesmaid, and Marion and Connie. Ruth chose their bridesmaid's dress, and she was really wonderful. I had a caterer for the reception. John's mom and dad came, and Carol and Dick, the best man. John Davis and Bud were the ushers. One of the ladies' secretary of the evening, W.A. Branch, she came. I hadn't invited her. Mrs. Goddard came and sat in the back of the church, and she told me afterwards, "Ruth's wedding was the prettiest wedding that ever came to St. Peter's." Isn't that nice? Quite a few people got their feelings hurt because I didn't send them an invitation. There were so many. What did you do with Peter at Lakeside? Well, we had a very nice long walk. My picture taken how many times? When Bud has me to dinner, he serves a little alcohol here and there, and I get tempted, and quite often the next day I have troubles. Peter made a lovely fire in the fireplace. Oh, I enjoyed that. Nearly frozen. You're a good fireplace firer. We went for a long walk, hand in hand, and every time we stopped beside a cement dog, we had a picture. Your grandfather Smallshaw didn't like the new Canadian flag. It was designed and put into action when the Prime Minister, what's-his-name, was there. You took my picture by the Stars and Stripes as well. How did you get along with your daughter these last couple weeks? We talked about this and that and got along wonderfully. How's your hearing? Bad. I can hear, but I don't hear as well as I'd like to. I went and had my ears tested again, and they said they were just about the same as they were before. My darn hearing aid went kerplunk. It did that 2 years ago, too. They took it all to pieces and said that a little bit of lint and a little bit of wax got in. They cleaned it up, and it was as good as new. How's it working now? It's not working at all. I haven't had a hearing aid on for 2 weeks, and I brought 2 or 3 extra batteries to make sure. Whether it was the altitude that made it go off, I don't know, from the airplane. I'm going to take it in the minute I get back. Do you remember when you came down to Duke University to see me in the marching band? Yes, that was wonderful. It was cold when you were in the band, and we sat in the bleachers. And I was sort of paralyzed in the side, didn't have any feeling. Just cold, you know. I talked with your Grandma Ray. She was a lovely gal, very methodical, more than I am. She thought the world of you. She tried to learn Spanish, mostly to please you. Ha ha ha. She did pretty well, too, I think. She thought the sun rose on her beloved John, right? She should be. Do you think Dick and John are similar? In some ways. George and his brother were so different. They both had different ideas in politics, and they fought. Like Mark and me. Mark's for Ronald Reagan. He's a conservative. George was NDP, and his brother was very conservative, so they didn't get along very good at all. Nothing can get me madder than politics. Ha ha! You shouldn't. You should never lose friends on account of politics. I have a lady friend, and she's all for Ronald Reagan, and she thinks the NDP isn't good at all. I said, well, you profess to be a Christian, and the NDP is a government for the people, and the other government supports the money regardless of people. Take from the poor and give to the rich. They're not Robin Hooders. What did you think of John S. Ray the first time you met him? Oh, I thought he was a very nice fellow, and Ruth seemed to be so happy, and I thought, if he makes Ruth happy, he makes me happy. And her dad seemed to like him too. Even though he was a Yank? Yeah, that's what my sister Norma said when I went to visit her in Tacoma, Washington. She said, Gus, how do you feel about your daughter marrying a Yank? She thought that was terrible, but she married a Yank. I said, no, what's the difference? He's a good man and makes Ruth happy, and that's it. I think John is wonderful. Very good man, good living and clever, and a good host. Did he change over the years? I see him getting older. Maybe he's getting a little bit more mellow. We're all changing. My mother used to say, all things change as all things must. Nothing in this world can last. What do you think about Peter now? Well, I think he's the best Peter in the world. He's clever and he's good looking, and he's going to get along fine, and his grandma loves him. What does Peter think of Grandma? Oh, I think you're the greatest. Thank you. If I were 60 years younger, I'd ask you to marry me. Thank you, dear. I'm looking for a girl just like you. Well, I'd like a girl just like the girl that married dear old Dad. Ha ha ha. Whoever you get for a wife, Peter, she'll be lucky. You're a pretty nice boy, a man, 26. Just imagine. That's what Bud says to Brian sometimes. Brian, when I was your age, I was married and had children. Oh, Peter, you've developed, naturally. Are you going to miss me when I'm gone? Very much. It won't be the same. You're a very, very thoughtful person, Peter. You think of the nicest things, doesn't he, Ruth? Correct. What do you want to do? What do you want to do for your 90th birthday, Grandma? How do you want to celebrate it? I don't want a big fuss. I like to go to parties when the other person is the focus. I like to join in. Later at the airport, before Mrs. Smallshaw's flight out of Cleveland. Are you starting to bend over, do you think? Well, tell me, do I? A little bit. Just a little bit, eh? I have some friends used to pass their place when I'd go up to post a letter. They sold their house and got a suite downtown. And I saw them downtown, and they said, "We always marveled as you went by." I used to wave at them, you know. "We always marveled at you, walking so straight." Isn't that nice? I guess when you get tired, everybody slouches over some. Oh yes, just natural. What gate am I? 56C. Are you enjoying the ride? A wheelchair ride to the gate. Yeah, I feel lazy. I feel like I'm old and I'm not. Ha ha ha. Anyway, I'll appreciate this in Toronto. I always, when I was younger, wanted to go on a safari and see the wild animals. They say it's not the same now. It's not as good. Most of them have died. That's right. Your Uncle Bud, the 17th of the month, he's going to fly to Spain and Portugal. The separatists in Spain are very angry because they won't give them a seat in Parliament. They say that they're going to bomb and ruin their tourist resorts, and I'm kind of nervous about them going, you know, when they could be bombed. Bud said, "We'll be all right." Bud's big and strong. Well, if you get bombed, you get bombed. Anyway, he says he's going, so who am I to stop them, huh? I give Bud the Reader's Digest to read. He said, "Oh, I haven't got time to read them." But he usually does read the high spots. He subscribes to it for me. I read it and give it back to him to read. Then he gives it back to me, and I take it up to Mr. and Mrs. Thorne up the street, so it does the rounds. Sometimes they give it back to me, and I take it up to the nursing home. At the gate. I could have walked all this way. I find traveling hard work, though. So, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to leave with people 500 years from now? Ha ha ha. I read that if you left this world and left this world for 1,000 years and suddenly came back, you wouldn't know it for the same world. You wouldn't know the language, you wouldn't know the customs. You'd think you were on a different planet. I hope your mom doesn't get cross from the things I said on the tape. Everybody sees things differently. Your mom is very generous, very thoughtful, and very loving. A really wonderful mother. Your dad is very, very generous. I feel very lucky. It's too bad that we live so far apart. It is. Your mom always felt sorry that I didn't live near her children. She said that she wished I lived nearer her children, so I knew them and loved them. As it happened, I lived near Bud's. She moved away. Yes, that's right, she moved away. I'm glad you feel that way about it. Bud likes Regina. I asked him that when Joan graduates, he's got 2 or 3 boyfriends that live on the coast, the Pacific coast, and they want him to go live out there. I think that when he goes, he takes them to dinners and is still the leader, you know. They want him to go and live there. I ask him whether he'll go and live there in Vancouver. He says, "Oh, I'll see." He won't commit himself. I think that Ruth would like you to talk more on the tape about her children. I know you don't know us as well as Bud's children, but anything you could remember, she would like to have on that tape. Yes, well, I have a tape recorder. I'll make a tape. What did Ruth say to you when I was in Kansas? Not an awful lot. She was very, very worried, you know. I don't think you needed to be there that long. I really don't. I told her that, and she said that she agreed with me. I think that they were looking for the money. They got you. They knew that John had money, which is a shame. It cost your dad a pretty penny, but your dad didn't care about the money. He cared about you. That was nice. He said that the hardest day of his life was when you, took the drugs and were really bad. The hardest day of his life was when he had to take you to the hospital. Well, you could imagine. That's all history now. Keep with the Alcoholics Anonymous? Yeah. Got another meeting tonight? Yeah. It's not every night, is it? Almost every night. Is that right? It's a lot of fun. You like it. I love it. It helps you. That's the main thing. Ruth arrives. I'll take a picture of you, too. Not too close, too many wrinkles. I have two tall, dark, and handsome grandsons, and a very, very pretty Patricia. I was telling her that when Patty was born, I gave her a receiving blanket. She always seemed like she wanted something to cling to. Ted said, I'm better to cling to than a receiving blanket. Ha ha ha. Maybe you'll be like your great-grandfather Fisher. He decided after he got out of the army that he wasn't going to get married. He was going to retire with his good pension and live in the south of France. And then he met Mother, and his life was altogether changed. If he hadn't have done, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. He was 42 when he got married, and Mother was 24. Well, I've got 16 more years to wait. Ha, 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 ha. Everybody's different, dear. I wanted my niece there in Vancouver. You met Carol Marshall. I said, Carol, if I come to Vancouver, would you come to Expo, the World Exposition, with me? She said no. Carol and Dave sort of veto everything. Gus leaves to walk to her plane bound for Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Wish me luck to get along. Thank you for being so good to me. I love you. Now we have two comments on the original publication, and the first is from John S. Ray, my father. SFMC number 2. As she approached her 90th birthday, Gus Smallshaw was as full of vim and vigor as ever. A remarkable gal. Ideas about everything. Head still working. Very interesting to see things from her perspective. A very, very youthful older person. A real shame that we do not live closer together so that we could do more sharing of one another's ideas. John S. Ray, Cleveland, Ohio. And the next comment is from Alice Garcia Ray, Quezon City, Philippines, my dear wife. My sincere thanks, Pete, for sending me a copy of SFMC number 2. I really admire your Grandma Gus when she told you her feelings about religion. It was a very satisfying one after reading it, and very enlightening for those who do not know about God. Yes, she is right. That God's plan for us is a plan full of hope and happiness, not of sadness and destruction. You are very, very lucky, Pete, to have a very intelligent grandma. She practically answered all your questions with great satisfaction. Alice Garcia Ray, Quezon City, Philippines. So that concludes today's presentation. Augusta F. Smallshaw, 1986, Part 4. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history, if this interests you. Finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, and photographs, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.